you have to learn modeling and you have to begin creating your own environments and your own props. And there is no other better software to use to model with than Maya. And I've been using Maya since 2005, and now I want to help you get started. So I am releasing the entire first module from Maya Foundation Home Study course. In this course, there are 3 different modules that teach you everything you need to know to begin using Maya to model with and to UV. And in the first module, it sets you on the right path to begin using Maya. So over the next 17 videos, you will see the entire first module and you will begin to learn Maya and begin using it. Now, after you've gone through this entire series and you want module 2 to learn modeling and module 3 to learn UVing, get the full 3 modules, 65 videos and 18 plus hours by downloading Maya Foundation Home Study course. And now, without further ado, let me show you what's going to be covered in this entire module 1 so you can learn to begin using Maya. So before we can jump in and create any objects, model any of the assets, or UV them, we have to understand how Maya works, how to navigate, how to create primitives, how to work with objects, and just basically understand the whole environment inside Maya. So this is a very important module that will set you on the right track for the second and the third module coming up. So in this first module on getting started, we're going to cover how to set up your Maya projects. So this way you can keep all your files organized in one location and you know exactly how Maya is keeping all of your work within a single folder. This is very important to do in order to organize all of your Maya files and your textures and everything else you're going to be working on within the project. Then we're going to cover the interface overview, kind of a broad overview of everything you need to know in what position and what each of the panels do around Maya interface. We're going to cover viewport navigation, so you can navigate quickly inside your perspective viewport as well as orthographic viewports. We'll cover the viewport options. Out of all the viewports, you have different options on how to display your objects in different ways. Some of them include wireframe unshaded, shaded, wireframe mode, and so on. We'll jump in and we'll start covering how to work with basic geometry primitives, such as cubes, cylinders, spheres. These are going to be your beginning objects, the primitive objects from which you start your modeling from. Every object can be broken down into basic primitive shapes, and these are going to help you to get started. Then we're going to cover object component mode. This is where you take each of these primitives or any of the objects you're working on, and you switch over to a vertice mode, face component mode, or edge component mode. This gives you access to what most of the modeling will be, manipulating these component modes, your vertices, edges, and faces. We'll then cover how to set up your grid, how to work things on scale, and this is going to become very important because everything in Maya has a specific size dimensions, which are centimeters. So in order for you to use centimeters and build everything to scale, we need to understand how does the grid work, how to set up the correct grid size and scale, as well as how to build things to correct size, to centimeters. So everything you create matches one-to-one between different software. Then we'll cover how to save, open, and start new scenes, so that way you can start saving your work in Maya. And then we'll go through a geometry blackout exercise. This is where we'll take everything we've learned up to that point so far and put it into practice. And we'll black out a lighthouse scene, and we'll start using our scale reference that we covered few videos before in order to start building things to correct scale, to correct dimensions and proportions. This is going to become a very important exercise because we'll start using the navigation, switching between the viewports, and working with primitives at an object level as well as at a component level in order to block out the scene so everything matches to size, scale, and correct proportion to the human reference scale. We'll then cover another very important part of working in any 3D application, which is snapping objects to the grid and to other objects, as well as how to control pivot points. And it's probably one of the most used parts of future modeling and controlling how your objects are placed inside the scene, and as well as, of course, how they are snapped to other objects next to them. And it's all about snapping objects and controlling those pivot points. We'll go over how to properly delete faces, edges, and vertices. There are different ways that you delete each of those components without having bad geometry being left over. We'll then cover custom polygon display in order to display certain parts of your mesh in a specific way to troubleshoot and just make your modeling better and more streamlined. We'll go over how to delete object construction history, which will become very important because if you don't delete history on an object and you leave a lot of history behind, which Maya keeps all and everything you do to an object as a list of history. If you don't periodically delete it, your Maya file can become unstable, get corrupted, and sometimes your mesh will begin to exhibit some weird and unusual behavior and sometimes even break and collapse. Then we'll cover how to create a custom tool shelf, which will allow you to place things onto that shelf so you can quickly add most commonly used functions to speed up your workflow in Maya. And then we'll cover how to create and manage display layers. This way you can place objects onto a display layer and then be able to hide them or log them so you don't select them inside the scene. This is a great way to manage your larger scenes and all the objects within it. We have a lot of important things to cover before we get to modeling and UV in stage, and this all happens in this module. So let's get started.